The massive chamber on Zentara Prime buzzed with tension as delegates from 12 different alien species gathered for the emergency meeting. Ambassador Kethavar of the Zilithian Empire stood at the center podium, his forearms moving in dramatic gestures as he spoke to the assembled crowd. Fellow council members, Kethavar's voice echoed through the translators. We face a threat unlike any we have seen before. The humans are advancing too quickly, too dangerously. Dr. Alex Morgan sat quietly in the human delegation area. Beside him, Captain Lisa Barnes reviewed her notes on a small tablet. Alex had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 3 years now, but he had never seen the other species so worried about humanity before. The holographic display above the podium showed images of human colonies expanding beyond their assigned sectors. Ships that looked more advanced than anything the Council had approved moved between star systems. Kethavar pointed at each image with one of his long, scaled fingers. Look at their progress, Kethavar continued. 50 years ago, they could barely leave their home planet. Now they have colonies on 47 worlds. Their technology advances faster than our scientists can study it. Chairman Mordak, a tall reptilian creature from the ancient Saurian Republic, tapped his clawed hand on the desk. What exactly are you suggesting, Ambassador Kethavar? The insectoid delegate from the Vrixti species clicked and buzzed in their own language. The translator rendered their words into common speech. The humans show patterns we have not seen before. They solve problems in ways that bypass normal development stages. Alex felt uncomfortable as all eyes turned toward the human section. He stood up slowly and activated his speaking device. Honored council members, humanity has always been innovative. We share all our technological advances with the Council as required by our membership agreement. A crystalline being from the Shard Collective chimed in with sounds like breaking glass. Yet your people work on projects you do not report. What is this Project Exodus we have detected in your communications? Alex felt his heart skip a beat. He had never heard of any Project Exodus. I'm not aware of any such project. I will need to contact Earth Command for clarification. Kethavar's eyes glowed brighter. You see, even their own ambassador does not know what they are planning. This proves they cannot be trusted. The aquatic delegate from the depth swimmers spoke through their water-filled helmet. Perhaps we should consider restrictions on human expansion until we better understand their intentions. Back on Earth, deep beneath the city of Denver, Dr. Peter Hall worked late in his underground laboratory. Around him, dozens of scientists and engineers focused on complex equations and strange machines that hummed with energy. His colleague, Dr. Amanda Price, approached him with excitement in her eyes. Peter, we've done it, Amanda said quietly. The dimensional phase technology is stable. We can move entire populations now. Peter looked up from his workstation. How long until we can implement it on a planetary scale? 6 months, maybe less, Amanda replied. The quantum field generators are already in position across all continents. Everyone thinks they're weather monitoring stations. Peter nodded and turned back to his calculations. For 20 years, he had worked on this project in secret. Only a few hundred people on Earth knew the truth about what they were building. The government had kept it hidden even from their own ambassador to the Galactic Council. Meanwhile, in orbit around Mars, Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the stars through the viewing port. His tactical officer, Commander Katie Wells, approached with a serious expression. Admiral, we're receiving more reports from the outer colonies, Katie said. Strange energy readings near several human settlements. The Council monitoring stations are asking questions. Jake turned to face her. Are our people ready? Yes, sir. Every colony has received their sealed instructions. They're waiting for the activation signal. Jake nodded. The plan had been in motion for decades. Every human who left Earth for the colonies carried with them a small device and a set of emergency instructions. Most thought it was standard evacuation protocol in case of alien attack. They had no idea what was really coming. Back in the council chambers, the debate continued. The representatives from smaller species looked nervous as the larger powers argued. The Zilithian Empire had dominated galactic politics for 3,000 years. They were not used to being challenged by newcomers. I propose economic sanctions, Kethavar announced. We restrict human access to quantum materials and advanced manufacturing equipment until they comply with enhanced monitoring. Several delegates murmured agreement. Others looked uncertain. The humans had become valuable trading partners for many species. Their innovative solutions had solved problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Dr. Alex Morgan stood again. Honored Council, humanity has been a peaceful member of this community. We have never shown aggression toward any Council species. Our rapid advancement benefits everyone through shared knowledge and technology. Your rapid advancement threatens the stability we have maintained for millennia, HFY shot back. Species must evolve gradually with guidance from their elders. Humans refuse to follow proper development protocols. Chairman Mordak raised his hand for silence. We will vote on Ambassador HFY's proposal in 3 days. Until then, all human activities will be closely monitored. As the session ended, Alex received a message on his personal communicator. The words made his blood run cold. Protocol 7 is now active. Prepare for immediate recall. He had no idea what Protocol 7 meant, but the message came with the highest level of encryption from Earth Command. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than anything he had been told about. That night, Alex sat in his quarters looking out at the alien city below. Strange vehicles moved through the air between towering spires of crystal and metal. He had grown to love this place and the friends he had made among the alien species. The thought of leaving made him sad, but the message had been clear. Earth Command wanted him home immediately. Something was about to happen that would change everything. On Earth, Dr. Peter Hull made the final adjustments to the planetary displacement array. Hidden quantum field generators had been installed at thousands of locations around the world. To outside observers, they looked like ordinary scientific equipment, but together, they formed the most powerful dimensional manipulation device ever created. Amanda Price checked the readings one last time. All systems are green, Peter. We can begin the final phase whenever you're ready. Peter took a deep breath. Contact all colony leaders. Tell them to prepare their people. The great departure begins in 72 hours. The future of humanity was about to change forever, and the Galactic Council had no idea what was coming. The first sign of something wrong came from New Pittsburgh Colony on Kepler 442b. The automated distress beacon had been sending regular status updates every 6 hours for 12 years. Then, in the middle of a routine transmission about crop yields and population growth, the signal simply stopped. Lieutenant Commander Veltar of the Zilithian patrol ship Swift Judgment received the alert while conducting routine border sweeps near human space. His communications officer, a young Zilithian named Kextal, brought him the report with confusion written across his scaled features. Sir, the human colony went silent mid-transmission. The last words were, "Harvest projection for next quarter looks very promising. We expect to exceed targets by 15%, and then..." Nothing after that. Veltar considered this information. Human colonies were usually very reliable with their communications. Set course for Kepler 442b, maximum speed. The journey took 18 hours. When the Swift Judgment arrived in orbit around the planet, Veltar ordered a full sensor sweep of the colony site. What they found made no sense at all. The colony was completely intact. Every building stood exactly where it should be. The power generators were still running. Gardens grew in neat rows, but there were no humans anywhere. Veltar led a landing party down to the surface. They found meals half-eaten on tables. Personal belongings lay scattered in homes as if people had simply vanished in the middle of their daily activities. Children's toys sat abandoned in playgrounds, but there were no signs of struggle, no damage, no bodies. "It's like they all just disappeared at the same moment," said Kextal as he examined a kitchen where soup was still warm in a pot. Veltar contacted his superiors immediately. The Zilithian Empire's military command ordered him to maintain position and wait for a full investigation team. On Mars, Admiral Jake Sullivan read the report from his command center aboard the UES Liberty. His aide, Commander Katie Wells, brought him updates that grew more disturbing by the hour. "Sir, we've now lost contact with 17 human settlements in the past 72 hours, Katie reported. All of them went silent without warning. No distress calls, no emergency signals. Jake looked at the star map on his main display. Red markers showed the locations of colonies that had stopped responding. They were scattered across human space with no obvious pattern. "Any word from Earth Command?" Jake asked. "Nothing, sir. All communication channels to Earth have been down for 6 hours. Even the quantum relay stations aren't responding." Jake felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. Something was happening to humanity, and he had no idea what it was. On Zentara Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Chairman Mordak called the meeting to order as representatives from all 12 species took their seats. Dr. Alex Morgan was notably absent from the human delegation area. Fellow council members, Mordak began, we face an unprecedented situation. Human colonies across 3 sectors have gone completely silent. Investigation teams report finding empty settlements with no signs of violence or natural disaster. The Vrixti delegate's bioluminescent patterns flashed rapidly as it spoke. Our sensors detect no energy signatures consistent with known weapon systems. No debris fields, no radiation. The humans have simply vanished. Ambassador HFY stood and activated the main display. Images of empty human colonies appeared above the assembly. Perhaps the humans have finally revealed their true nature. This could be an elaborate deception designed to make us lower our guard. The crystalline representative from the Shard Collective chimed in disagreement. Analysis of quantum residue suggests dimensional manipulation technology far beyond our current understanding. This may not be deception, but something far more concerning. The aquatic depth swimmer delegate spoke through bubbling water. Ancient records speak of the void hunters, entities that consumed entire civilizations, leaving only empty worlds behind. Perhaps they have returned. Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. The void hunters were legendary creatures from the galaxy's distant past. Most species considered them myths, but the older civilizations remembered stories passed down through countless generations. Meanwhile, in a hidden space station beyond Pluto's orbit, Director Ryan Clark monitored the dimensional gateway network from his command center. Chief Engineer Nicole Brooks approached him with status reports from around the solar system. All outer colony relocations are complete, Nicole reported. Mars Base and Luna City are ready for phase transition. Earth's planetary array is charging to full power. Ryan nodded as he watched the displays showing hundreds of human settlements successfully transferred to their new dimensional space. Any problems with the transitions? None, sir. The quantum anchors are holding perfectly. The relocated populations are settling into their new reality, with minimal adjustment difficulties. Ryan smiled. After 30 years of planning and preparation, humanity's greatest achievement was finally becoming reality. They were leaving behind the constraints of normal space-time and moving to a dimension where they could develop their full potential without interference. Dr. Peter Hall's team on Earth made final preparations for the most ambitious part of the plan. The quantum field generators hidden around the planet as weather monitoring equipment had been slowly building power for months. Soon they would be ready to transport Earth itself. Dr. Amanda Price checked the dimensional stability readings one more time.
Peter, the field strength is at 97%.
We can begin planetary transition in 18 hours. Peter looked out the window of the underground facility at the blue sky above. Soon that sky would exist in an entirely different dimension. Contact all evacuation centers. Tell the population to prepare for the final phase. Across Earth, families received messages telling them to report to designated safe zones. The Johnson family from Ohio packed their bags and drove to the local community center. The Williams family from California boarded buses with their neighbors. Everyone had been told this was a routine emergency preparedness drill, but somehow it felt different this time. Captain Rick Davis coordinated the massive logistics operation from Orbital Command. Every human military unit, research facility, and civilian population center had specific instructions for the transition. The planning had taken decades, but execution would happen in a matter of hours. Colonel Janet Foster led ground teams in major cities around the world. Her job was to ensure that no humans were left behind when Earth made its dimensional jump. Special teams checked hospitals, remote research stations, and isolated communities. In deep space, human ships began converging on rally points throughout the solar system. Most crew members still didn't understand what was happening, but they followed orders and trusted their commanders. Admiral Jake Sullivan received new orders that finally explained everything. All human vessels are to report to designated coordinates immediately. The Great Departure begins in 96 hours. This is not a drill. Humanity is going home. Jake stared at the message for a long time. Going home? But Earth was home unless home meant something entirely different than he had ever imagined. As he gave orders to his fleet, Jake realized that humanity was about to do something that no species in galactic history had ever attempted. They weren't just leaving their planets or their star system. They were leaving reality itself for something better. The Galactic Council continued their emergency sessions, but they were always one step behind. Every time they sent investigation teams to a silent human colony, they found the same thing: empty buildings, warm food, and absolutely no trace of where the humans had gone. Some council members began to panic. Others grew angry, but none of them understood that they were witnessing the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations around the Sol system began detecting massive energy readings unlike anything they had ever recorded. The quantum sensors showed power levels that should have been impossible for any known technology to generate. Chairman Mordak ordered an immediate joint fleet response. Ships from 6 different council species formed up under the command of the Zilithian dreadnought, Eternal Dominion. Commander Veltar, recently promoted after his discovery of the empty human colonies, led the investigation fleet toward Earth's solar system. "Sir, the energy readings are off every scale we have," reported his science officer as they approached the outer planets. "Whatever the humans are doing, it's affecting space-time itself." Dr. Alex Morgan stood before the Galactic Council one final time. The human ambassador had requested this emergency session, and his manner was different from before. Gone was the uncertain diplomat who had seemed confused by human activities. In his place stood a man who clearly knew exactly what was happening. "Honored council members," Alex began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "I have asked for this final meeting to explain what you are about to witness. For 50 years, humanity has been part of your galactic community. We have learned much from you, and we are grateful for the lessons you have taught us." The assembled delegates listened with growing unease. Something in the human's tone suggested this was farewell speech. "However," Alex continued, "humanity has always known that we would eventually outgrow the limitations of this community. Your fears about our rapid advancement were justified. We were indeed becoming too powerful, too unpredictable for the established order you have maintained for millennia." Ambassador Kethavar stood abruptly. "What are you saying, human? What has your species done?" Alex smiled sadly. "We are going home, Ambassador, to a place where we can grow and develop without threatening the stability you value so highly." On Earth, the final phase of the Great Departure began. Families like the Johnsons and Williams had gathered in safe zones around the world, along with millions of other humans. They had been told to bring only essential belongings and to remain calm during what officials called a major transition event. Dr. Peter Hall initiated the planetary displacement sequence from his underground command center. Around the globe, thousands of hidden quantum field generators came online simultaneously. The very air began to shimmer with dimensional energy. Dr. Amanda Price monitored the readings as reality itself started to bend around Earth. Field stability at 100%. Peter, all population centers report ready status. In space above Earth, Captain Rick Davis coordinated the evacuation fleet. Military vessels and civilian transports formed protective formations around the planet as the dimensional field built to critical levels. Colonel Janet Foster made her final report from New York City. All population centers secured. No humans remain outside the safe zones. We're ready for transition. The first signs of the change were visible from orbit. Earth began to shimmer like a mirage, its edges becoming fuzzy and indistinct. The moon, which had been equipped with its own quantum anchors, flickered in and out of normal space-time. Commander Veltar and the Council investigation fleet arrived just in time to witness something that defied all known science. Mars Base, humanity's largest off-world colony, simply faded from existence. Not destroyed, not exploded. It became transparent and vanished as if it had never been there. "Sir, I'm reading massive dimensional distortions throughout the human system," reported the science officer. "It's like reality is coming apart." Luna City followed Mars into dimensional space. The moon itself remained, but every human structure on its surface disappeared. Asteroid mining stations that had operated for decades winked out of existence one by one. The Zilithian fleet tried to move closer, but their ships' systems began malfunctioning as they approached the edge of the dimensional field. Space itself was becoming unstable around Earth. Dr. Amanda Price made the final countdown. Planetary transition in 60 seconds. All systems green. Around Earth, the last human ships took their positions. Admiral Jake Sullivan aboard the UES Liberty, sent a final transmission to the Galactic Council fleet. We thank you for the lessons you taught us, intentionally or otherwise. Perhaps in time our paths will cross again. Until then, the stars are calling, and we must answer. 30 seconds, Amanda announced. On the surface, 8 billion humans waited in their safe zones as reality began to shift around them. Children held their parents' hands as the sky started to change color. Adults watched in wonder as the laws of physics they had known all their lives began to bend. 10 seconds. The quantum field generators reached maximum power. Dimensional energy flowed through crystalline conduits buried deep beneath every continent. The planet itself became a massive quantum anchor, ready to pull all of humanity into a new realm of existence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Transition complete. Earth vanished. Commander Veltar and his crew stared in shock at empty space where the third planet from Sol had been just moments before. The sun still shone. The other planets remained in their orbits. But Earth was simply gone, along with every human in the solar system. Run full sensor sweeps, Veltar ordered. Deep space, quantum level, everything. The results showed nothing. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace that Earth had ever existed. Only empty space and the gravitational effects that proved a planet had once been there. Back in the council chambers, Dr. Alex Morgan delivered his final words as humanity's representative. We have not abandoned the galaxy out of anger or fear. We leave because we have found a better path. The dimensional space we now inhabit offers possibilities that normal reality cannot provide. The crystalline shard collective delegate chimed urgently. You speak of dimensional manipulation as if it were simple technology. Such power could reshape the very foundations of existence. Yes, Alex replied. It could. And that is why we must use it responsibly. Away from those who might be harmed by our experiments. We go not as conquerors but as explorers, seeking new forms of existence among the infinite layers of reality. The Vrixty delegates' patterns flashed rapidly. How long have you planned this deception? Since the day we first met another intelligent species, Alex answered honestly. We realized immediately that our growth patterns were incompatible with galactic civilization as it exists. Rather than cause conflict, we chose to find our own way. Chairman Mordak spoke for the first time since Alex began his speech. Will we ever see humanity again? Alex considered the question carefully. That depends on how much you grow during our absence. When you are ready to see the universe as we do, you will find ways to reach us. With those words, Alex Morgan activated a small device hidden in his clothing. The same dimensional energy that had transported Earth surrounded him. In seconds, he too faded from normal space-time, leaving behind only an empty chair and the stunned silence of the Galactic Council. In dimensional space, humanity began its greatest adventure. Earth rematerialized in a realm where the laws of physics were more flexible, where thoughts could shape reality, and where the limitations that had constrained them for millennia no longer applied. Dr. Peter Hall stood in his laboratory, which now existed in a space where time flowed differently, and energy could be manipulated in ways that had been impossible before. Welcome to humanity's new home, he said to his team. Outside the windows of the facility, strange new stars shone in patterns that obeyed different rules. In the distance, other worlds drifted through dimensional space, some carrying civilizations that had made similar journeys long ago. Humanity had not vanished. They had evolved beyond the need for normal spacetime, and in their new realm, they would grow into something the Galactic Council could never have imagined. 5 years had passed since the day Earth vanished from normal spacetime. The Galactic Council had launched the most comprehensive investigation in their recorded history, but the search for humanity had yielded more questions than answers. Commander Veltar, now promoted to Admiral, led the ongoing investigation from the research vessel Truth Seeker. His team included scientists from every council species, all working together to understand how an entire civilization could simply disappear from reality. Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the quantum residue from the Sol system, reported Dr. Kristineth, a brilliant researcher from the Shard Collective. Her crystalline body chimed softly as she spoke. The energy patterns suggest the humans didn't just hide or relocate. They literally moved themselves into a parallel layer of existence. Admiral Veltar studied the holographic displays, showing the complex mathematical models his team had developed. Are you saying they created their own dimension? More accurately, they found a way to access dimensions that already existed but were previously unreachable, replied Buzzkill, the Vrixty explorer, whose bioluminescent patterns flashed with excitement. Our analysis suggests there are multiple layers of reality overlapping our own space-time. The implications were staggering. For thousands of years, the Council species had believed that normal space-time was all that existed. The humans had proven them wrong, and then used that knowledge to escape the limitations of conventional reality. Chairman Mordak had aged noticeably in the 5 years since humanity's departure. The ancient Saurian leader often stood at the great windows of the council chambers, looking out at the stars and wondering what humanity was doing among the hidden dimensions. Have we made any progress in developing similar technology? He asked Dr. Simon Webb during one of their regular meetings. Dr. Webb was the only human left in normal spacetime. He had been on a research mission to the Andromeda Galaxy when the Great Departure occurred, and his ship's quantum drive had malfunctioned, stranding him far from home. By the time he returned to Council space, Earth and all his people were gone. I've been working with teams from every species, but our understanding is still very limited, Simon replied sadly. The humans who planned this spent decades developing the technology in secret. We're trying to reverse engineer something we barely comprehend. Simon had become both a valuable resource and a tragic figure in council politics. As the only remaining human, he carried the weight of representing his entire species while knowing he might never see them again. The investigation had revealed the incredible scope of humanity's deception. Archaeological teams led by Dr. Maria Santos, a Zilithian scientist who had studied human culture, discovered that every human colony had been equipped with hidden dimensional anchor points from the very beginning. They weren't just planning to leave, Maria reported to the council. They were building the infrastructure for departure from the moment they first established off-world settlements. Every weather monitoring station, every communication relay, every piece of seemingly innocent equipment was actually part of their dimensional manipulation network. The revelation had shattered many assumptions about human nature. Species that had considered humans to be impulsive and unpredictable realized they had actually been executing a plan with incredible patience and foresight. Ambassador Kethvar had taken the news particularly hard. The Zilithian who had warned about human advancement now found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about galactic civilization. We underestimated them completely, he admitted to his aide during a private conversation. While we were worried about their rapid technological growth, they were already planning to transcend technology as we understand it. The depth swimmer philosopher Tidesinger had spent months analyzing the philosophical implications of humanity's departure. Did we drive them away through our fear, or were they always planning to leave us behind? The aquatic being mused during council sessions. The question haunted many council members. Some believed that their treatment of humanity had forced the humans to seek alternatives. Others argued that humanity's departure had always been inevitable, given their unique development patterns. Meanwhile, Dr. Simon Webb continued his research into dimensional physics with a team that included reformed members of the species that had once viewed humanity as a threat. Kethvar had become one of his closest collaborators, working to understand the science behind humanity's escape. The mathematics are incredible, Kethvar said as they reviewed human research notes that Simon had managed to salvage. They found ways to manipulate quantum fields that our physicists said were impossible. Clicknat, a Vrixty engineer whose patterns now showed deep respect rather than the fear she had once felt toward humans, added her own observations. Their approach to problem-solving was fundamentally different from ours. Where we would spend centuries testing and refining theories, they made intuitive leaps that bypassed entire stages of development. The team's breakthrough came during their 4th year of research. While analyzing quantum readings from the former Sol system, they detected faint energy signatures that seemed to pulse in regular patterns. It's like an echo, Simon explained excitedly to the council. The dimensional barriers are thin enough in some places that we can detect traces of activity from the other side. The discovery led to the development of primitive dimensional sensors that could detect the presence of parallel space-time layers. The technology was crude compared to what humans had achieved, but it proved that contact might be possible. Then, Exactly 5 years after the Great Departure, something extraordinary happened. A message beacon materialized in Earth's former orbit, appearing from empty space as if it had always been there. Admiral Veltar's fleet detected the beacon immediately and carefully retrieved it for analysis. The device was clearly of human origin, but it incorporated technological principles that the Council's best scientists couldn't fully understand. When activated, the beacon projected a simple holographic message. Dr. Alex Morgan, humanity's former ambassador, appeared as a three-dimensional image in the Council chambers. Honored Council members, the recording began. If you are receiving this message, then 5 years have passed since our departure. We hope this time has allowed you to consider the implications of what we have achieved. The assembled delegates listened in absolute silence as Alex continued. We have not abandoned you out of anger or spite. We have moved to a realm where we can grow and develop without threatening the stability that you value. Our new existence allows us to explore possibilities that normal reality cannot provide. The message included coordinates to a location at the edge of Council space and detailed instructions for building a basic dimensional communication device. When you are ready to see the universe as we do, Alex's image concluded, come find us. But understand that contact with us will change you in ways you cannot yet imagine. The beacon's arrival sparked intense debates within the Council. Some species, led by the conservative factions of the Shard Collective, argued that attempting contact was too dangerous. They feared that humanity's advanced dimensional technology could destabilize normal space-time. Others, including the adventurous depth swimmers and a growing number of younger Council members, believed that humanity's message represented the greatest opportunity for advancement in galactic history. Dr. Simon Webb found himself at the center of the controversy. As the only human left in normal space-time, his opinion carried enormous weight in the debates. I know my people, he told the Council during one heated session. They wouldn't offer contact if it posed a real danger to you. But they're also telling the truth about change. If you reach out to them, your civilizations will never be the same. Chairman Mordak made the difficult decision to proceed with building the communication device, but only under the strictest safety protocols. The project would be voluntary, with any species free to participate or abstain as they chose. As construction began on humanity's dimensional communication array, the galaxy found itself divided not by conflict, but by a fundamental question about the nature of existence itself. Some species were content with the reality they had always known. Others yearned to discover what lay beyond the boundaries of normal space-time. The beacon had done more than offer contact with humanity. It had forced every civilization in the galaxy to confront the possibility that there were forms of existence beyond anything they had previously imagined. 2 years after the beacon's arrival, the dimensional communication array was finally complete. Built at the coordinates provided by humanity's message, the massive structure existed at the very edge of Council space, where the fabric of reality was naturally thinner. Dr. Simon Webb stood in the control center, surrounded by scientists and engineers from 6 different species who had volunteered for the contact project. Admiral Veltar commanded the security fleet that maintained a safe distance from the array, ready to respond if anything went wrong. All systems are ready, reported Dr. Kristineth, her crystalline form resonating with nervous energy. The dimensional field generators are stable, and we have a clear lock on the coordinates from the human beacon. Simon took a deep breath and activated the communication array. Energy flowed through crystalline conduits that had been built, using principles reverse-engineered from abandoned human technology. The space around the array began to shimmer as dimensional barriers grew thin. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, a section of space near the array began to change. What had been empty vacuum suddenly contained a structure that definitely hadn't been there before. The human outpost was small, but clearly advanced beyond anything the Council species could build. Its design incorporated curves and angles that seemed to bend space around them, and energy patterns flowed across its surface in ways that made no sense according to conventional physics. "This is Dr. Helen Miller of the Epsilon Research Station," came a voice over the communication channels. "We've been waiting for your call." The voice was unmistakably human, speaking in the same language patterns that Simon remembered from home. But there was something different about it. a quality that suggested the speaker had experienced things beyond normal understanding. Dr. Miller, this is Dr. Simon Webb representing the Galactic Council. Simon replied, his voice shaking with emotion. We've been trying to reach you for 7 years. Time flows differently here, Dr. Miller responded. For us, it's been nearly 30 years since we left your dimension. We've learned much in that time. A docking tube extended from the human outpost toward the council array. Simon and a small team of volunteers made their way across, accompanied by Buzzkill from the Vrixti and Kethvar, who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters among the council species. Inside the outpost, they found 3 humans waiting for them. Dr. Helen Miller appeared to be the same age as when humanity had departed, despite claiming that decades had passed. Engineer Paul Stevens and technician Carol Roberts also showed no signs of aging. The dimensional space we inhabit has different rules, Dr. Miller explained as she led them through corridors that seemed larger inside than the outpost's external dimensions suggested. Time, space, energy, matter. They all behave according to principles that normal reality doesn't allow. Paul Stevens activated a holographic display that showed star maps unlike anything the council species had ever seen. Instead of the familiar 3-dimensional arrangements they knew, these maps showed reality as layers upon layers of interconnected dimensions. We haven't just survived in our new home, Paul continued. We've thrived beyond our wildest dreams. Free from the constraints of normal physics, we've been able to explore forms of science and engineering that would have been impossible in your reality. Carol Roberts led them to a viewing area where they could see outside the outpost. The view showed a realm that defied description. Strange stars drifted through space that obeyed different rules, and in the distance, massive structures that might have been cities or ships or something entirely new moved through dimensions that folded in on themselves. We're not alone here, Carol explained. This dimensional space is inhabited by other civilizations that left normal reality long ago. Some have been here for millions of years. They've taught us things about existence that your science can barely imagine. Kethvar studied the displays with growing excitement. Your people have achieved what we thought was impossible. You've transcended the basic limitations of physical reality. But we haven't forgotten where we came from, Dr. Miller said. That's why we left the beacon. We want to offer the same opportunities to other species, but only if they're ready for the changes that come with dimensional existence. Dr. Amanda Price appeared in the viewing area. Her title now listed as Dimensional Ambassador. She had aged slightly but carried herself with a confidence that spoke of incredible experiences. The council species have a choice to make, Amanda announced. You can remain in normal space-time with its familiar limitations, or you can take the leap into dimensional reality where infinite possibilities await. She activated another display that showed the process of dimensional transition. The journey requires abandoning old ways of thinking. Hierarchies based on technological advancement become meaningless when anyone can reshape reality through focused intention. Fear of change becomes a luxury you cannot afford when change is the only constant. Buzzkill's bioluminescent patterns flashed rapidly. What about our civilizations? Our cultures? Would we lose everything that makes us who we are? You would lose your limitations, Dr. Miller replied. Everything else depends on what you choose to keep. Some species that made the transition chose to preserve their traditional ways. Others reinvented themselves completely. The choice is always yours. Simon felt tears forming in his eyes as he realized the magnitude of what his people had achieved. Could I stay? Could I join you here? Amanda smiled warmly. Of course, Simon. You've carried the burden of representing humanity alone for long enough. But first, help us offer this opportunity to the other council species. Over the following weeks, representatives from the human dimensional community met with delegations from each council species. The conversations were intense and sometimes difficult, as ancient civilizations struggled to understand concepts that challenged everything they thought they knew about existence. Chairman Mordak, now very old but still sharp, listened carefully to humanity's proposal during a special council session. You're asking us to abandon everything we've built over millennia. Dr. Alex Morgan, appearing through dimensional projection technology, addressed the council for the first time in 7 years. We're asking you to evolve, Chairman. The galaxy you've built is impressive, but it's also limited by the constraints of normal reality. There are forms of existence and levels of consciousness that you can only achieve by moving beyond those constraints. The debates continued for months. Some species, led by the adventurous depth swimmers, quickly decided to attempt the transition. Their natural comfort with different environments made them ideal candidates for dimensional existence. A faction of younger Zilithians, inspired by Kethavar's reports, broke away from their empire's conservative leadership and requested permission to join the dimensional community. They were followed by progressive groups from several other species. The Shard Collective remained divided. Their crystalline nature made them naturally suited for dimensional physics, but their conservative culture resisted such radical change. Half of their population chose to make the transition, while the others remained in normal spacetime. The Vrixti approached the choice with scientific curiosity. Buzzkill led a research expedition into dimensional space and returned with reports that convinced most of her species to attempt the transition. Dr. Simon Webb stood once again before the Galactic Council, but this time he spoke as humanity's liaison between dimensions rather than their abandoned representative. The choice each species makes will determine the future of galactic civilization, he announced. Those who choose dimensional existence will gain access to technologies and forms of consciousness beyond current imagination. Those who remain in normal space-time will continue developing within familiar limitations. Chairman Mordak made his decision after consulting with the oldest members of his species. The Saurian Republic will remain in normal space-time. We are comfortable with the reality we have always known, but we wish our departing friends well in their new existence. The final transition began 6 months later. Species that had chosen dimensional existence gathered at coordinates throughout the galaxy, where the barriers between realities were thinnest. Human teams provided technical support and guidance as entire civilizations prepared to leave normal spacetime behind. Dr. Amanda Price, now serving as humanity's primary ambassador to both dimensions, oversaw the largest transition event. As she watched ships and worlds begin to fade from normal reality, she thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. "We didn't leave you behind," she said, broadcasting to both dimensions simultaneously. "We went ahead to light the way. The door remains open for those brave enough to walk through it." The galaxy had split not through war or conflict but through choice. Some species remained in the familiar reality they had always known, content with gradual development and traditional limitations. Others joined humanity in the infinite expanse of dimensional space, where the only limits were those they chose to accept.